All right, let's talk about something big, the American dream. You know, that whole idea of success and prosperity if you work hard? Well, for an entire generation, it's starting to feel a little bit like a myth. Today, we're going to get into this really fascinating and honestly kind of troubling trend. Why so many young Americans, we're talking Gen Z, feel like the only way they can actually get that dream is by leaving the country.
I mean, this quote just hits it, right? It perfectly nails this weird paradox for Gen Z. You're doing all the modern stuff you're supposed to do, but those basic building blocks, like just owning a home, feels totally impossible. It really sets the stage for what we're talking about, both on a personal level and an economic one.
Okay, so how many people are we actually talking about here? This number, it's just staggering. A whopping 63% of Gen Z Americans feel like the dream is completely out of reach for them. Let that sink in. 63%. And this isn't just, being a little unhappy. It's so intense that they're seriously thinking about packing their bags and finding a future somewhere else.
So this really gets to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? It's this huge clash between the promise of the American dream, the story we've all been told, and the actual reality for young people today. There's this massive gap opening up, and Gen Z is stuck right in the middle of it.
And you can see the disconnect so clearly when you put it side by side. The promise was, hey, education will be affordable. The reality? Crushing student debt. The promise was you'll be able to own a home. It's part of the deal. The reality? A housing market that's just out of control. And that promise of a steady, stable career, yep, that's been swapped out for economic uncertainty and the gig economy. So, what's causing all this? What's driving this huge gap? Well, it's not just one thing. It's what our source material calls a crushing combination of economic pressures that are all hitting this generation at the exact same time. Let's really dig into the two biggest culprits here. And here they are, the two biggest hurdles. First up, you've got crippling student debt. We're talking about payments the size of a mortgage before you can even dream of getting a mortgage. And second, runaway inflation. It's making everything from your groceries to the gas in your car way more expensive, and it just eats up any money you manage to save. Just look at this. A huge chunk of a young person's income is just gone, eaten up by debt. And student loans, they're a massive slice of that pie. This isn't just some bill you pay every month. It's a wall. That's money that can't be a down payment on a house, it can't be invested, it can't be put away for the future. It's like starting the race with a giant anchor tied to you. Okay, now let's add the other big problem on top of that. Think of it like a race between how much things cost and how much you earn. And, well, it's not even a close race. Wages have kind of crept up a little bit, sure, but the cost of just living, that has sprinted ahead. So even when you get a raise at work, you can actually buy less with it. It's this feeling of working harder and harder just to fall further behind. So what happens when you put all this economic pressure together? You get this really damaging social problem, and it's being called the failure to launch crisis. And let's be super clear, this has nothing to do with being lazy or not having ambition. It's all about a lack of opportunity. So what does that actually mean, failure to launch? Well, it's a real socioeconomic thing. It's when young adults just can't hit those classic milestones of being an adult. Things we used to take for granted, like moving out of your parents' house, being financially on your own, maybe starting a family. All of that is getting pushed back by years, or for some, maybe forever. And again, this is not a choice. This isn't a generation that just wants to live in their childhood bedroom forever. They feel trapped. All those economic issues we just talked about, they've basically created this situation of long-term financial dependency. Real independence has become a luxury that a lot of people just can't afford. Okay, so let's bring this all back to where we started. If the path you're supposed to take is completely blocked at home, what are your options? Well, for more and more young people, the answer is you find a different path, somewhere else. And that's where this idea of a generation in exile comes from. And this is a really important point. People aren't thinking of leaving just for some grand adventure. It's not about that. It's more of a reluctant, practical decision. They're looking for a place where putting in the hard work actually leads to a stable life. A place where that dream, whatever it looks like for them, still feels like it could actually happen. You can almost map out the journey, right? It follows these clear steps. First, you grow up believing in the promise. Then, wham, you hit the wall of economic reality, the debt, the inflation. That leads to that personal crisis, that failure to launch feeling of just being stuck. And so the next logical step, as tough as it is to conclude that maybe, just maybe, those opportunities are somewhere else. Which leaves us with this one final, really provocative question. If a huge part of America's next generation believes their best shot at success is actually outside its borders, what does that mean for the future of the dream itself? Is the American dream moving abroad?